The first thing we often do when we read those, we get some we remember what our background knowledge is, because that's going to help us understand. Right here.
Yeah, isn't Africa?
And part of the Middle East is not a continent, it's a region of the world, and it includes parts of Africa and parts of Asia.
Protesters demanded change, more freedom, more jobs, and most important, a new president. Protester and step down.
Raise your hand, and when the person who's done talking is done, they will toss it to someone with their hand up. Okay? Every now and then, I might say, "Kush here, please," and I will take the kush back and say something. Okay? Otherwise, it's just going to go back and forth. So, okay. Even question?
No.
So we're going to start with words that were confusing. Words or phrases that need to be clear.
I think I figured out my own question because I don't think me and Daylin really paid attention to it saying step down from auspice.
So in parentheses right after the word, it had actually the definition. Maybe we could figure that out from reading this. Raise your hands. Bye.
Well, they wanted him to quit, and he resigned.
The caption.
Oh, look, they were reading so closely, they're reading the caption on the last page. It says, in Cairo, protesters celebrated Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak's resignation.
Like,
Cairo is the lead.
Oh, I know what it...
Okay, raise your hand and toss it. Why do you think that?
because resignation has resigned in it.
A nation.
And that doesn't have anything to do with it. But, and it's, and they celebrate, it says they're celebrating, and they're stated to be celebrating because he stepped down, resigned. And so that makes me think that resignation means someone who's not, basically. What's that?
Yes, okay, I think it basically means, wait, let me see this. Basically means resigned because, like, you just said, like, when you clarify and then you said clarification, which is the same thing, you're just, like, talking about it. It's just another way to say
He for power for like 30 years, and now he's resigning, and really, I'm wondering exactly why he's resigning.
What are your thoughts on that? Or are you understand?
May someone tell me why?
Well, I think he's really just resigning because things are getting like out of hand because of all the like protests and rallies.
He might have kind of realized that he was crazy with power, and then since he realized that, he probably just felt bad and wanted to sit
I
down.
disagree. I don't think he got sick of power. I think he just realized it was too much. He was hungry for power. And then, you know how people, once you get something really new and it's really fun, and then you get bored of it fast?
Or like you
Like
get something.
Yeah, something and you get bored of it kind of fast.
Right.
And then that he probably just got bored of power and then he listened to his country and stuff.
I disagree with Ethan because, well, he's been in power for 30 years and he hasn't listened to the protests once in 30 years. He must have gotten used to listening to the protests and ignoring them. So I think that he was just realizing that his country was about to plunge into war and he had to step down before his country got destroyed.
And add on to the summary. What else did this article talk about? So she got two things. The president of Egypt, and he's not in power anymore. He stepped down. Malcolm, what else would you add to that summary?
I would say there are protesters saying step down.
You're going to be practicing summarizing, clarifying, and
The
paraphrasing.
government would not let a man work his fruit cart, so he lit himself on fire to
Oh yeah, I
protest
heard about that.
because that was how he made money for his family. This inspired Egyptians to protest to their government because they felt they did not have enough opportunity. Fortunately, the military was not violent with the protesters.
Why did the guy set himself on fire?
Because the government would not let him work his fruit cart.
Because he didn't have the right permits.
And that was how he made money for his family. So that was how he protests.
Okay. And you're saying Gaddafi sent their planes to bomb some of the people in this country?
I think so. And then, but then they jumped out of the plane, and
So
and the pilots jumped out of the plane, and so the people jumped out of the plane, and the planes crashed.
the pilots refused to bomb.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seriously doubting what Ethan said, because it's kind of like, why on earth would the president of Libya send planes, like, to attack us?
No, not us. It was like
The rebels?
I'm not sure. Yeah, something like the rebels.
People are very poor, but the government is a lot.
Libya had had the president for almost 40 years. A lot like Egypt, although Egypt's president Mubarak only for 30. Libya is in a situation where they could start a civil war.
In Libya, the government is controlling the information about the conflict that leaves the country in
A full-scale Jasmine revolution and became so serious that by January 17th.
So you're telling me he shut down computers, cell phones, those kinds of things. Why would he do that?
So that they could make a plan to protest.
All right, who learned more about the protest? Let's stay focused on that. Jayla, what would you like to share?
In Algeria, well, this is on the comments, so I believe it might be true. In Algeria, about 2,000 people took to the street to protest.
I read about people going around with signs with pictures of Mubarak and X's. And another thing I learned, and I think in Libya, peaceful protests turned into very violent protests.
So who could summarize the difference between what happened in Egypt with what happened and is happening in Libya? What is the difference?